Over 1,000 years ago, fierce warriors from the north emerged from the mists of the Atlantic. These were the Vikings, legendary seafarers, raiders, and explorers, who left their mark on much of Europe. But few know that even Portugal, nestled in the Iberian Peninsula, wasn't spared from their brutal attacks. Today, we explore the Viking raids in Portugal and their lasting impact. The Vikings were skilled sailors and fearsome warriors originating from what we know today as Norway, Denmark, and Sweden. Between the 8th and 11th centuries, they embarked on expansive raids and voyages across Europe and beyond. Their motives? Wealth, adventure, and new lands. While most stories focus on their exploits in England, France, and even the Mediterranean, the Vikings also targeted the Iberian Peninsula, Spain and Portugal included. With their advanced shipbuilding techniques, they could sail up rivers and attack inland cities. The coastal towns of Portugal, rich with trade and poorly defended, were soon on the radar of these northern invaders. The first recorded Viking raid on Portugal occurred in 844. At that time, Lisbon, known as Lisbon under Muslim rule, was a thriving and strategically important port city along the Tagus River. It had wealth, trade routes, and a population unprepared for the Viking onslaught. A fleet of Viking ships, commanded by the legendary leader Bjorn Ironside, sailed up the river and launched a violent attack on Lisbon. The city endured a brutal siege, and chaos spread through the streets. While the local Muslim rulers initially struggled to repel the invaders, reinforcements from the Umayyad Caliphate eventually arrived to defend the city. The Vikings were pushed back, but they left a trail of destruction behind. The siege of Lisbon marked the beginning of Viking interest in the region. They realized the wealth of Iberia, and though they failed to capture Lisbon, they would return again and again. Statue of Vimara Perez, son of Pedro Theon, who defeated the Vikings in Galicia in 858, reconquered the lands north of the Douro and was named first Count of Portugal in 868. He also founded the city of Guimarães. In 968, Bishop Cisnando of Santiago de Compostela was murdered and the Curtis monastery sacked, making it necessary to take measures to defend the inner city of Lugo. The sack of Tuy in the 11th century left the city's episcopal office empty for half a century. Upstream on the Mijo River, on the left bank, on the riverside cliffs of Melgaco, there are dozens of mysterious and large heads of fantastic figures on Monte do Prado, similar to those that the Vikings sculpted. Some historians think they have this origin. The capture and kidnapping of hostages to demand ransom was also a common practice. Fletcher mentions paying Amarillo Mestales to guarantee the security of his land and rescue his daughters, captured in 1015. Bishop Cresconio de Compostela, 1036–66, repelled yet another Viking attack and ordered the construction of the Torres do Oeste, in Catuara, as a naval fortress to protect Compostela. Póvoa de Varzim, in the north of Portugal, and Nazar Beach were colonized by the Vikings. The city of Braga, which was often sacked, as well as the entire valley and towns in the Cavado River Valley, so frequently that it led to the construction of the impressive walls of the city of Guimarães. The city of Porto and Lisbon also suffered major attacks. More forceful was Count Goncalo Sancho, who destroyed the entire fleet of Gunrod of Norway. Count Sancho captured and stabbed the entire crew and their king. The Viking success lay in their speed and mobility. Their longships were designed for rapid coastal attacks, allowing them to strike hard and retreat quickly before large armies could be mobilized. This guerrilla-style warfare left the Iberian coast in constant fear. They used rivers like the Douro and Mondego to penetrate deeper inland, hitting towns that thought themselves safe from coastal raiders. Viking tactics were precise. They targeted monasteries, wealthy merchant towns, and weakly defended villages. In response, Iberian rulers, both Christian and Muslim, started to prepare for future incursions. Castles were built along the coast, and cities began to fortify their walls. Local militias were formed to protect against these swift Viking attacks. However, despite their preparations, the Vikings continued to be a looming threat. As the 11th century progressed, the Viking raids on Portugal began to slow. Several factors contributed to this. One was the growing organization of Iberian rulers, who built stronger coastal defenses. Another was the spread of Christianity across Scandinavia, which reduced the Vikings' motivation for raiding, as they were no longer acting under purely pagan beliefs. Additionally, Scandinavia itself was changing. Viking leaders were becoming kings, establishing their own Christian kingdoms, and engaging in more formalized trade rather than plundering. By the late 11th century, the age of Viking raids in Portugal had come to an end, though the scars they left behind would take generations to heal. Although the Vikings never established permanent settlements in Portugal, their legacy endures in several ways. Coastal defenses, such as fortresses and watchtowers, were expanded to prevent further invasions. Historical records from Muslim and Christian chroniclers provide vivid descriptions of the Viking raids, detailing both the terror they spread and the strategies used to defend against them. Legends of Viking warriors lingered in the collective memory of the Portuguese people, blending into local folklore. The Vikings' brief but impactful presence helped shape Portugal's maritime defenses and awareness of foreign threats. Their raids were a reminder that no coast was too far from the reach of these northern pirates. The Vikings may be better known for their conquests in the north of Europe, but their reach extended far beyond what many realize. Their presence in Portugal, though temporary, was a testament to their ambition, skill, and ferocity. It serves as a powerful chapter in the story of the Iberian Peninsula, one of resilience, adaptation, and survival.